Today we'll be working on the events module on the home page. So as you can see here, we've got different events, and when you click on the left, it populates the middle column and the map over here with the correct address. And we're going to just go ahead and walk through how you can get this all working, and it shouldn't take too long, and I hope you learned something. Okay, so this is where my original React project had an events module, and we're going to basically take the concept, the functionality from this module, and even this Basset Hound data, and we'll be bringing it into our new project. So this is where it comes from. And as you can see here, since we're bringing it into a JavaScript instead of React, we're not going to be doing JSX, and so we're going to go ahead and start commenting things out, and we'll be doing a for loop that has a string that gets built upon instead, as opposed to a simple something that we would do in a map in React. Anyway, as you can see, there's a lot of content modules or pieces of content in this object itself. And so everything's got to be represented, the date and time, and obviously the address, and there's going to be some descriptions in the title. So we're going to go ahead and collect all that from the local JSON data, and then once we get that, we can bring it in. Now keep in mind, this is just the first of any number of restaurants, so eventually we're going to be building out something that reads into the URL, and we'll know which restaurant to pull the data from. Currently we just have one. And so I'm going to toy about in the HTML here and try to figure out what works best for my strategy. You're going to be doing more like targets and things like that. So you can either use an ID or something else unique. A lot of times I'll use data sets, but a target will be fine. And so I'll do like ID equals and then whatever is relevant and then target. So it's all kind of named. It's a familiar naming concept. So anyway, we're also going to be putting in a map in this module, as you can see in the last of the columns, and it is going to have a source that's also going to come from the local data that can obviously change based on whoever's restaurant it is, and that's where we're going to pull that from. And people will have to register. Sometimes based on what's going on or how much traffic, they'll have to register their own map and let the Google know that, hey, you're expected to get some requests from this exact address. So if you're going to be doing a lot of work with Google Maps, I suggest looking into that and just kind of getting to know how to generate an ID or a key for yourself, and then start using their maps on a regular basis. Because I don't really know what even a brochure website is going to have typically a map just on the contact section. So now, as you can see here, I'm kind of toying around with what I'm going to do with the source attribute on the map. It's going to be up on the very top, the map's address and whatnot, but then we also have to concatenate that with the address of whatever we want to have the represented on the map. So there's there's the address of the URL, obviously, and then you add on the physical address of where that location is in the world. So we can watch as I kind of screw about trying to figure out what I want to do with the source attribute. And we'll also take a look at some of the old work we did in React and to see what possibilities are available. And it's really just kind of a for loop that's going to populate all this stuff instead of a map. So as you can see, there's 3 events, and we're going to go through and get all the things we want with a for loop. Now we'll go ahead and make an empty string to begin with, and that way we'll know that that can be built onto. So it'll be active event is going to be, the first one will start at 0, and then when you click it, it'll have an iteration within the link, and then that will update the whole thing with active link again. As you can see, that will be what determines what will be shown within the selection of the events. All right, so we're going to go through and start putting together our targets. And here's our string that we're going to put together. When the for loop is over, we'll be applying that string. So obviously you don't want to put it in the for loop. It won't work out well. You just have to. It'll keep writing it. It'll be a waste of basically a waste of your computer's memory. So the unfortunate thing when you paste things in from somewhere else is Visual Studio likes to space them in this crazy manner. So I get lucky enough to come back, and this is a cause for a lot of human error, unfortunately. Copying something and pasting and then having to go in and mess with it. So as you can see here, this is something you want to pay close attention to make sure that everything is has an opening and a closing in quotes. Like as I can see, uploaded error, class equals list group, item list group, action. You see, that's just a careless mistake. You got to get that opening apostrophe or basically opening quote in there for that, or it'll be broken, as we will find out. But we'll watch some more as this keeps moving forward. Now we're going to use ticks here so I can get the proper the amount of apostrophes and quotes and whatnot without it being messed up. So I'm pretty sure everybody's familiar with this. When you actually come across a variable, instead of putting the plus signs, you will just do the $sign and the brackets. So just a standard move. Anyway, so we also let it know if in case something's active, and I don't think this was actually working on our latest, so I'll probably have to come and fix this. But it's supposed to have like a list item active, list group item, and then it'll have the actual class of active, and it'll make it look different than the others once you've selected it. And as I was going through showing off what we were going to be finishing, it wasn't there. Anyway, so we'll just keep on working here and get this data to iterate in and populate our HTML. And obviously, we want to set it by default when the page opens with the first one. So the first title will be selected and populate with the information in the map. But we got to obviously get everything correct. I just want the word title instead of event title. There's a few things I need to switch up that are going to be problematic based on the way the data actually is named. So bear with me as I come through and do some adjusting, and then some basics attributes that can help me target where I want my data to show up on the HTML. Now, and an interesting thing about data sets, you see how it's camel case with that event title? So that's not going to fly. And it will ultimately come out as everything will be lowercase. So just to let you know, if you're trying to identify something that's been changed once it's rendered, it's going to be very difficult. I wouldn't recommend doing like camel case after you can see my mistake I've made here that I have to come through and basically fix it. So it is what it is, though. You get to see me make the mistake instead of you, so that's good. And yeah, so I just want each one of these line items to be targeted with a piece of content. And, I don't want it redundant on it, obviously, so the time and date kind of redundant if it's just one piece of content. So I'm going to take this and make a copy of it, and then we'll swing over to the other page. And I'm going to put this in the comments somewhere so I know, like, okay, here's where we're at when I'm writing all this. Yeah, so we're going to be building out the HTML. We got to get all the iterations correct. See how it has config and then it's the first iteration of 0. We will be putting on as many restaurants as you want. So that's where this is all just one restaurant currently, but wait till we get to towards the end. It'll be one of those things where if you go to, let's say, like the NFL or the Major League Baseball websites, and it's just a template, and basically it'll swap out whatever team's colors and brand and obviously a helmet or an image of something in the background. But it's the same site. You just tell it which team you want to view, and it would just show you like the Bengals or the Dallas Cowboys or something. But the site really is just telling that through the parameters in the URL, and then they know which which data to get. We're just not using a database. We'll be using a JSON file. I mean, you technically could use a database as well. I would recommend, if you are, because this is JSON, I would recommend using MongoDB or something. But since this is not going to be anything more than local data, we don't have to worry about it too much. That's why it's only half the work to make these things. As long as you just keep it in something that local data, you'll never be able to get hacked. There's nothing to hack. It's static website. So that's the beauty of it. But keep in mind, static websites can call APIs, and then you could submit things. So it's, just as powerful as you need it to be, just as long as your data lives here. So when I'm all done with this project, I would assume people who wanted a restaurant website, they can just download this, and then they would update the JSON file with their stuff, and then they could upload that anywhere they want, or put it back on GitHub and put a domain on it. And then once the domain's there, GitHub will post the whole thing for free. And so you're just paying for the domain for your restaurant if you use this app. No, I'll put in more options, and we're just getting started. But I'm going to let you know this is it's a huge saver for people who are trying to run a restaurant. The margins are so small, and they're so small in restaurants. So if you can save like $1,000 a month or something, or whatever their website might cost you, let's hope it's not $1,000 a month, but any little bit will help. So anyway, that's my point. I feel like this is something that we can put together for people, and they could utilize it and save. And I'm trying to endorse small businesses and help them out. So here we go. We're getting close to the end. As you can see, just naming conventions and making sure I've named everything the same as it did in the actual JSON data. And we're just taking a close look at that right now. So yeah, pretty simple stuff. Just make sure that it matches whatever the data says, or it's just going to give you an error. Okay, once that we've got everything named correctly, let's go ahead and get all of these pieces of content into the target where they need to be. Make sure that those things are all small case. And we want to go ahead and make sure the contact is there. I feel like event and time and date, it's the same content piece. So we'll go ahead in a second, we'll be taking those and combining them and marrying them. But obviously we want to have the contact at the bottom. And we're getting closer. There we go. It's tough to read because of the white text against that background. So we're going to do some CSS work to make sure that the... there we go. We got that out. And we'll do some CSS work to make sure that it's visible and legible. So I'd recommend a lot of times just putting the background as something either white or black based on whatever. And obviously it looks like the link to the map is it's not there 100% just yet. But everything else seems getting closer. So we're on the right track. Let's just keep working here. Yeah, so you're going to want to add the address onto that. And we'll make the background something, where it helps with the text to make it legible. So background color, we'll just make it white with the hexadecimal. And maybe a little nice border radius of 10, so it's kind of rounded off. There we go. We're getting closer. And as you can see, the text is still white, so we got to fix that. And obviously the map has the ability to get a little bit wider, so I'll clear that up, as you can see from the beginning of the video. And obviously you can go to the live page to see where this website stands thus far. And here I am making the color of the text black, so it's legible. All right, seems to be working good. I hope you learned something.